mini season, whatever you want to call it, of What Were You Thinking, presented by World's Greatest here on FanFest, being simulcast all over social media on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook. And joining me today, we brought back both of our co-hosts, Devon Allen and Brandon Miller. And Quanera Hayes is, I guess, guest co-hosting at the moment right now. I see her kind of. She looks a little
Popping in and out.
She's not smiling at me, so I think she's frozen. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, this has been a great run. So first and foremost, I want to thank the both of you for dedicating so much time to co-hosting on this show. Obviously, for a 17-day straight at 9 p.m., you guys gave us a lot of time. So first and foremost, thank you so much for that. And
Hey, you too, Mike. You know, you did a lot of work for the show as well. You were here. You're the backbone. You're the backbone to this. What were you thinking?
I appreciate that. Yeah, it got me to thinking, what was our producer Bob thinking by making me the permanent host of this thing for 17 days straight. But hey, it worked out. Very successful run. We've had over 1.5 million views on Twitter alone. People enjoying it. We launched an NFT, which people are actually buying, and you can get those at Fanaply, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. We laughed. We learned. I know so much more about winter sports now than I did 2 weeks ago, and I thought I was already kind of savvy in that realm because an avid Olympics watcher. I thought I knew I thought I knew a lot, but I didn't, and now I do. So that was great. Devon, I'm kind of curious. What was your favorite part of doing the show?
My favorite part of the show is learning about all the different events and the nuances and how actually similar a lot of the training can be between a lot of Olympic sports like, bobsled, speed skating, short track and long track, and Nordic combined, ski jumping. And so that was super interesting for me to learn about all those different sports and then how similar really the training is as well.
There you go. And happy Valentine's Day to Brandon. Happy belated with those balloons behind you. It looks like we're still celebrating. I still have mine right over here in the dining room too. So it's it's a whole week. Yeah, what about you? What was your favorite part about being able to meet all these winter athletes and other summer athletes and just have these conversations?
I would just say just meeting people was my favorite thing. I met a lot of people that obviously didn't know before. I met comedians, I met ski jumpers, just a lot of high profile people with a lot of different personalities that have left their mark on me, to be completely honest with you. So just getting the opportunity to meet all these people and then just learning about different events that I've never heard of was really rewarding for me.
Yeah. The cool part about this show, in that everybody who was on it was an athlete, with the exception of myself and, of course, our resident comedian Alex Hooper.
You guys are athletes as well, though.
Well, in a different way.
In a way.
If poker players are considered athletes, you can consider me an athlete because I got that sit at the table stamina.
Always, baby.
Yeah, poker exactly. Call me moneymaker, I guess. I may have just dated myself with that poker reference. Regardless,
moneymaker, I know that.
The reason why this show is so great, I mentioned before, to laugh and to learn. That's what we're really trying to do here. But it's really an unfiltered style. Everything being told through the eyes of athletes and coaches and people inside that world. And it's something that's unique and you can't really find anywhere else. I like that it's not just the normal questions that you would be getting elsewhere, because it's coming from people who have a whole different perspective on it. And I think that's why we're going to keep this show going. I don't know how often we're going to keep this show going, but we are going to keep it going. We're going to turn it into a podcast as well, so people can listen to it in their cars or at the gym or wherever you may listen to your favorite podcast. So definitely going to keep this thing going. As far as experiments go, I would say this one was quite successful.
For sure.
Yeah. And the other cool thing that we're on this platform, this FanFest platform, there's chat. We can actually bring fans in from the chat if we wanted to. We didn't do that on this run because there were just so many great conversations and we just never had the time to, but we could if we wanted to. So maybe in the future, people can bring in their fans. And then, of course, all these winter athletes, World's Greatest. We've done so much with track and field and summer athletes for several years now. Devon, I think we've been working with you since 2018, pretty much. And a lot of other track and field stars. But now getting into the winter realm and talking to all the Nordic combined folks, and Billy DeMong was great. Obviously, today we have Erin Jackson, who's coming on, speed skater, gold medalist. I cannot wait for her to be on. So we're going to bring her on any second now. And Timmy Goebel is also on today, 2002 bronze medalist in figure skating. But then, so many other great athletes that were on. Quanera Hayes, who keeps coming and going in the show here. I think she's back. I don't know. It's kind of appropriate that we end the show with a few technical difficulties because that's how we started. Isn't that right, Brandon?
You are right 100%.
Well, I can't hear you again, Brandon.
I say you right 100%.
No, he's joking.
Yeah, no, I'm just but look, this is awesome. I think we have Erin in the chat room standing by, so we can actually bring her in because I don't want to take too much of her time because I'm sure. Look, she had one of the most inspiring stories in the entire Olympic Games, and I'm sure everyone is tugging at her, trying to get her on their show, having a chat with her. So, I want to just get her in here, get our questions out there. It's really an honor to be able to have Erin joining this show. So hopefully she'll be on any second now. It's always kind of a surprise. They just kind of pop in right on the bottom corner of the screen, and someone's popping in right now. And who do we have?
There
we have
is.
Erin Jackson. That's right. What's going on, Erin? How are you? Can you hear us?
Oh, no.
No?
Hold on.
Technical difficulties. Always. Hold on. We're sorting this out. So let me just give an introduction to Erin as we get that sorted out. So as I mentioned, inline skater turned speed skater, gold medalist in what I think it was something like 6 years from putting on skates the first time to winning a gold medal, which seems to be a fast track, no pun intended, because a lot of these Nordic combined skiers we were talking to, they're like, oh yeah, we started skiing when we were 2 years old. And it's an absolutely incredible journey. Let's see, Erin, can you hear me now? Are you able to hear me?
If you can hear us, to put a thumbs up.
She can hear us, but can you guys hear her? What is happening?
I can't.
Let's try this one more time. We're gonna try this one more time. We're gonna rewind the tape and see if we can get this working. Yeah. All right, Bob. See what you can do there. Devon, I'm just kind of curious. While we try to fix this and get Erin's audio working here, the Olympics are now over. What was your favorite part? Present company excluded. What was your favorite part of these games?
To be honest, I enjoyed watching the relay race snowboarding with the men and women's, the mixed downhill snowboarding. That was one of my favorite events for sure. So, and that's interesting. And that was because, I think that event, especially, they were talking about the difficulties with the course and how the course changed throughout the weather and stuff like that. So obviously there's a lot more things to take account for in the winter games because they're outside in the snow. Sometimes they have to make artificial snow. Sometimes it's super, super cold and things like that. So those athletes have to overcome a lot of difficulties and obstacles to perform well, which is inspiring.
Yeah. What about from your perspective down there, Brandon?
Would I be Jackson's 500?
No, you can pick that. That's allowed.
All right, there we go. That was honestly my favorite moment. And then I think I think the biggest thing I got from that, it was a very inspiring story. But I was like, man, she did 500 meters in 37 seconds. And I kind of compared it to the track. I was like, there is no way,
There we go. She's back.
Can we hear her now? Technology. We're gonna get there.
I think she might be plugging in headphones.
Oh, okay.
That might work. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see there. Yeah, that was a crazy fact that Linlin mentioned the other day. Like, oh yeah, I can do a 400 in like half a minute. Like, what?
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is too, and I'm sure Erin will be able to answer this for us when she gets on. Is I was looking up the world record in the event, and I can't seem to find any the most recent recorded time was 41 seconds. So like you said, the track was obviously fast, and I think
Mhm.
Erin skated 37 seconds in the World Cup earlier this year as well.
Right.
So obviously, that record is dropping.
Yeah. And Quinera, I see you now. You seem to be having a better connection. So we're solving one technical difficulty at a time. But thank you for joining us again tonight.
You don't know how stressed I was when my computer was acting up. I was like, out of all, it was fine yesterday, but today, like, I couldn't take it. I was so stressed.
All right. So Quanera Hayes, USA Olympian from Tokyo, 400 meters. She finished first in the trials, made it all the way to the finals in Tokyo 2020 in the 400. We're so happy to have you back, Erin. Please, hello.
Can you hear me?
Woo!
Yeah. Yes. We can hear you.
There we go. There we go. How are you doing tonight? Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Oh, now she's frozen.
Did I prematurely apologize?
It's okay. It'll fix itself.
Oh man. All right. Well, Quinera, yeah, thanks again for joining. We had an amazing show. If you didn't see last night, go back and watch because we had such a fun conversation last night. It was really interesting. So we had Mikhail on Trinidad and Tobago bobsledder, former hurdler, friend of yours, Devon, right?
Yep, friend of mine.
Yeah, so Mikhail Thomas, because I see we're on such good terms. I forgot to say his last name. Now we're just on a first name basis. But it was great. The insights that he was able to provide, and the fact that he gave a couple of tips for how track athletes can convert into bobsledders, which I know interests everybody down here, right? So potentially, if you don't go into curling, Devon Allen, that bobsledding's calling your name.
For sure. All right, Erin's back.
I don't know.
Hey, I'm gonna back out. Mike, you stay on.
All right, that's we're playing musical chairs tonight.
We're gonna try to get people out of here.
So Quinera is joining us again because on yesterday's show we said Erin is going to be on the show, and she's like, you can't not include me in that show. So she's back and ready to go. A little extra pep in her step too, I see, right?
I was at dinner and I just had my appetizer and I was like, oh my gosh, it's getting close to 9 o'clock. I was like, can you just make our order to go? I didn't even eat at the restaurant.
Are you wait, so you went to a restaurant, you ordered food, you said Erin Jackson's going to be on this show, and I happen to have the password to jump into that show.
Yes. I kid you not. I
Take
kid
it to go.
We appetizers and that was it. And they packed our food to go.
Okay. Did they look at you like, what was she thinking? Like,
no, he was just, do you have somewhere to be? I was like, yes, I do. It's kind of important. So just, kind of hurry it up. But
yeah, right. So, apologies. We seem to be having some technical difficulties on this evening's show. Look, we started the show with these. We're ending the show with these. We had some great connections in between. That's all I can say, right? But we'll get this sorted out as soon as we possibly can because I think everybody is just super eager to chat with Erin. Yeah. So in the meantime, and I think Devon's going to be hopping back on any minute as well. So the thing about speed skating, we had Linlin's son on the other day who, like I mentioned previously, Vancouver gold medalist in 2010 in the short track. And everything from the sport itself to the uniforms to the training regimens, it was all very, very, very interesting. I don't know if either of you had the honor of watching everything that Linlin was able to say. First, the most interesting thing is that, like, I don't care what kind of knife you have, you can't cut through those suits, which was very shocking to me that material even exists. But all of the training stuff, I mean, Devon, now that you're back, and you can even speak to this as well, some of that training, it was just nuts how you can train your body to get on this angle at like such high speeds. That Quinlan was saying?
She's saying 20 degrees. So 20 degrees from the ground is the angle that they train at to get around the short track.
Yeah,
which would be interesting to see how much of a difference that is between long track and short track, because obviously the curve is much longer, and they do a bit of a swap between the inside and the outside lanes in the long track as well, which I'm interested to hear about. But yeah, no, the training for the short track, especially speed skaters, and on them focusing on staying low and kind of being in that like crouch position, being aerodynamic, being close to the ground, using their hand as balance. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, were you able to catch, or I guess any of you able to catch the relay portion of short track, which to me seems like one of the most chaotic approaches to speed skating you possibly can. Okay, I see Erin's eyes. I see two screens that say Erin, and one of them's got her. There she is.
There we go. There's Erin.
Can we hear you on this one?
Yes.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you.
Great. Awesome. Oh, no, wait.
Hey, this is good TV, though. This is great TV.
Oh my God! What? That's gonna be my first question. What were you thinking when? Okay, there we go. I think we're good. It looks like a stable connection. Erin Jackson, please say hello. Are you there?
All right. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can. We can hear
But
you.
now I can't hear you.
Oh no.
Oh,
She's messing with us.
Are you messing with us? You better be messing with us.
No, she's not messing.
No, she's not messing with us.
No.
See,
Oh,
There we go.
we good?
Something.
Did we solve it?
All right, 1 second.
Okay.
This is technology. See.
Hey, in the meantime, let's just talk about, hey, Brandon, what do you got going on in the next week coming up?
yeah. So I am competing in the SEC championships coming up, this upcoming week, and it's at A&M. Pretty exciting. We don't have to travel, so that's a big, load on my shoulders and things like that.
Are you allowed to talk about what event you're gonna do, or no? You gotta keep on a D-Lo.
Oh yeah, I got you. I'm running 800.
All right. Hello?
Hey, can you hear us? Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Let's go.
We have.
Erin, what's up?
Let's do this. Awesome. Okay.
Hey.
Brandon, we'll totally get back to talking about you racing at SECs because I definitely want to dive into that. But we have Erin on, and before this whole thing blows up, we got to talk to her. All right. So, Erin Jackson, welcome to What Were You Thinking? My name is Mike. We got Brandon and Devon here, as well as Quanera. Now, Quanera was literally at dinner and was like, Erin Jackson's on the show, and I have the link to get into it. I'm going to leave dinner. She literally got her dinner to go to come and talk to you.
Oh, so, I'm honored.
Yeah. Quanera Team USA 400-meter finalist. Brandon, probably one of the best 800-meter runners in all of college on the Bowerman watch list, and Devon Allen, two-time Olympian in the 110-meter hurdles. And he was a pretty good football player back in his day. Don't know if he can still catch a ball, but we'll figure that out in a future show. And I'm just a guy who's hosting, so my accolades are not important. You kind of took everybody by storm, one of the most inspiring stories of this Winter Games, and we're so honored to have you here. I just want to start off by giving you the floor. Tell us, who are you, what do you do, and kind of give us a rundown. Give us your life story in like 60 seconds.
Oh, perfect. All right. Yeah, I'm Erin Jackson, newly an Olympic champion in long track speed skating, a 500-meter race. I'm also an inline speed skater, and I play roller derby, and I go to school a lot. Yeah, I like to skate.
There you go.
Perfect. That's the best one so far.
Yeah, right. It's been working so far. So I'm kind of curious what your Beijing experience was like, what your expectations were going into it, and just kind of the entire time you were there. Just give us a little rundown on exactly what that was like from your perspective.
Okay, so more like the village experience, or in terms of like racing?
I want to know the village experience, the racing. What did you eat? Like, what was your flight home like? Because you're like, I'm an Olympic champion, and for like 18 hours or
You
24
had to get
hours.
upgraded to first class, right? Like
Yeah,
you just
right.
show your medal off, and they put you in the
Uh,
cockpit with the pilots.
They never fly the plane.
well, yeah, I mean, I should have gone that route, but I paid for my own upgrade, and then when I got to the gate agents recognized me and were like, "Oh, wow, 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 wow," wow. And I was like, "Well, I should have waited. Maybe I could have gotten a free upgrade."
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it works.
But yeah. So yeah, I mean, I could have saved some money there, but yeah, as far as the village, yeah, I thought it was great. I know like some people were like a little annoyed with all the testing, but I think the testing was great, like the COVID testing, because I mean, it would suck to like go there and like get COVID from from someone else. So yeah, I felt really safe with the fact that they were testing everyone every day. Yeah, so I didn't think it was annoying. I thought it was great because you know, I want to feel safe to be around like anyone else who's in the venue.
For sure.
And then the food, there was a Pizza Hut and a KFC in there. I got Pizza Hut a few times. It was pretty good. Um, and then as far as the actual like cafeteria food, I mean, I was happy with it. It was all like pretty simple food, which is, you know, that's fine with me. Didn't have much seasoning on it, but I mean, you could add your own salt. Yeah, ate a lot of dumplings, a lot of like the hot pot type dishes.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of dessert.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm like, when you're going out there to compete at a world class level, do you sample the local cuisine, or do you just kind of stay with just, I don't know, grilled chicken and rice if that's your thing? You know, like, do you deviate at that point in such an important milestone in your career?
Yeah, so my teammates are always kind of like joking with me about like what I eat at the buffets when we try- all the athletes kind of eat at the same place in the hotel. And I'm the person who's always getting like all the weird foods and like weird yeah, it's probably not the smartest for an athlete who's like yeah, I am a little adventurous with the food.
Well, you know that's funny you say that because a lot of us, you know, we're all track and field athletes and we're really strict on our diets during training and stuff like that. But once we get to competitions, we definitely like to splurge a little bit because once you're there, you know, the training's done. You're not going to lose all your hard work in a few days, a week leading up to the event. And so we like to go hard on some of the cuisines all around the world. So I'm glad you got to take advantage of that as well.
Just like all the hard work leading up to it. So yeah, to it. Like, there's not much I can do at that point when I'm like on the line for my race. I'm just kind of like relying on everything I've done up to that point, and then just go get a clean race and see where that puts me.
100%. 100%. Okay. Well, let's kind of move on because we don't want to take too much of your time. We got a couple questions from all three of us. My question for you is, you know, reading about you, doing research on you. You started out actually figure skating on the derby, like on the like roller rink, right? Not on ice, but with inline skates.
Hmm.
And then you transition into inline skating, doing some roller derby, and then you transition to ice. A little birdie told me you also ran high school track. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do want to know what events you competed in, one, and then two, the transition, you know, from inline figure skating to inline skating to ice, and kind of what, you know, decisions you made going along the way, and why. Yeah.
Back, but I guess not very successfully. Let's see, I ran the 100, 200, the 4x1, and then I did long. But yeah, I'm not, well, I guess until I discovered Salt City and they had me training on the bike, I was like, no, run. Running is like uh, for running, I prefer to skate instead of run. That since that's kind of like your sport.
Yeah. And so when you
Let's see.
go ahead. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The subject. All right, I'm gonna answer the other part of your question. You talked about like my transitions from sports.
Yeah, transition from
So
skating to
let's
ice.
see. Okay, just as a skater, would love to be, you know, and skate around with my friends. Just like listening to music. I don't know if that's like a thing where you guys come from, but yeah, it was pretty big in Florida, just hanging out.
Yeah,
And
I think we all did that a little bit.
Yeah, it's called like artistic skating, and I did that for about 2 years. While just COVID and then with the Olympics and everything. But yeah, I'm gonna start inlining again pretty soon. And then let's see, in 2012 I got a derby, and yeah, kind of the same thing, hoping to get.
Oh, we lost
And
her.
then in 2016, oh,
Oh,
what's up,
she's back.
in 2016, I got on ice for the first.
Oh no, we can't hear you anymore.
Can
Can you guys hear her?
I can hear her.
Oh,
I can't even see her.
oh. There we go. She's moving again. Okay, I think we got you back. Technology, gotta love it. Got to love it.
Everyone.
Hey, Erin, can you hear us? Oh, there you go. Mike, are you back? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. What did I miss? Sorry.
Well, Erin just told us her whole life story on transitioning from.
I was watching. I wanted to reset a little bit to see if we could stabilize some connections out here. So, but I am back. So pick up wherever you left off. Sorry.
So go ahead. You just talked about Erin. We lost you right when you were talking about like doing some ice stuff with your friends in 2012, I believe, is what you said.
Yeah. So did you guys hear all the stuff I said
I can't
about
hear you
like my
now.
transitions between different skating
Oh, no.
sports, or did that get?
Oh no! Can you hear her, Mike?
Yeah, I hear her loud and clear, man.
Yeah, I hear her.
Now Devon's the problem. All right. So yeah, just continue where you left off. We have really good editors, by the way, for after the fact. So don't you worry about that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was saying I didn't know if you guys heard like my whole spiel about like the different sports that I went through, like the different like from artistic to inline to derby and then to ice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the connection does not seem to be stable. Painfully so.
Uh-oh.
But I mean, I was able to hear it previously, but that progression you kind of took there, with the derby part being the most fascinating as far as as I'm concerned. That's a sport that's always somewhat terrified me, even just as a spectator.
Yeah, derby's super fun. Yeah, I've been doing it for a few years now, and it's the only team sport I've done, so it's kind of like a different I don't know, like a different experience, but yeah, I definitely love it. Yeah.
So are you going to add the speed skating, like short track relay, to your repertoire as a team sport, or are you just going to stick to roller derby for team and stay on the ice individually?
Yeah, I mean, there are a ton of like athletes older than me doing short track, but yeah, it'd be kind of a late start for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, late, yeah. You say late start, but you almost got a little bit of a late start anyways in the whole ice skating thing. And I loved the first thing that anyone ever saw was the video comparing your first day on the ice to you competing in the Olympics. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, we gotta pay attention to what's going on here, because we knew it was kind of special there. Hey, Quanera, you're shaking your head like, yes, that was the eye opener, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. So when I first got on the ice, it was kind
Can you hear me?
of wanted.
Okay. I can't see or hear her.
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Uh-oh.
No, it's a
Can
little bit.
anyone hear
You
me?
you are a little bit choppy, Erin. But yeah, I don't know. Are you in a hotel? Is that what's going on?
Let me.
It's probably that hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'm in a hotel.
Pretty much.
It's that hotel Wi-Fi. It gets you every time. Talking to a guy who has to upload videos from track meets to to TV networks and trying to fight hotel Wi-Fi. It is not fun. It
That's
is
good.
not fun. Yeah. But all right, so she's jumping again. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that this evening is not going as expected from a technological standpoint. It has been working. Quanera would not have come back if last night went like this. I'm just
No, I still would have come back. I trust me, I would have still come back.
oh.
I had yesterday, so it was just, oh, I want to come back.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we're super happy to have you back. So hopefully we can get Erin stabilized, get her on here. I feel kind of terrible that we're using so much time to stabilize a connection when it's just like, oh my god, we have a legend in the making. I gotta talk to her. Come on, yeah. And I see. Maybe I don't know. So Devon jumped out in a little bit. He may return. Again, we do have another guest who is going to be joining us tonight. Timmy Goebbels, the bronze medalist from 2002 Salt Lake City Winter Games in figure skating. Which that's and now speaking of sports, I know absolutely nothing about how to do. I think figure skating would take the cake on that one. And Quinera, you're a fan of the figure skating, so I'm sure you would probably have more relevant questions than I probably would at this point for a medalist in that sport.
Yeah, of course. I have a lot of questions for him.
There you go. Yeah, we may be bringing him in a little bit sooner if we can't stabilize the other connections, and we'll see what happens with Devon. So everyone, bear with us. Brandon, let's just go back to what we were talking about before with you. You've got SECs coming up. It's in your backyard, if you will. It's at your home track. Earlier on this show, we had Talia Brooks on. Earlier in the run of the show, I should say, and she mentioned that the trials for the HEP are actually taking place down in Fayetteville, where she lives. But she's still getting a hotel room because she wants to still kind of get into that vibe, right? The competition mode. Is that something that like makes sense to you? Is that something that you might try out?
I mean, yeah, I definitely understand it. Me personally, I remember SEC Outdoors was here last year, so I think the feeling of sleeping in my bed, waking up, doing my own schedule, I feel like that really helped me, especially like with my nerves and
Mm,
everything. Personally, I love waking up in my own bed, and I love operating at home when it comes to a championship meet.
okay, makes sense. What about you, Quinera? Does that sound smart to do the hotel thing, or you like your own bed, don't you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
If like teleport traveling, it would skip all of that and just like I would rather do that. I would rather do that because I just traveling is just a yeah.
There is something nice though about the hotel because I mean the bed's always made real nice and it's all right there. I can understand where she's coming from, but what do we have to look forward to, you, Brandon, in SECs? So I don't know. I didn't hear what you said to Devin. If you're allowed to kind of let us know what you're doing, or is that kind of you gotta stay hush hush?
Yeah, so I'll be doing the 800 and the 4x4.
Hmm.
And you guys can watch it. It'll be on ESPN. I run on Friday and then Saturday, so 2 big days of competition, and I'm very excited for it personally.
So how does one prepare differently? An 800 versus a 4x4? Those are two very different races.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for the 800, it's really just like going through my regular preparation because that's my main race. And I think the 4x4 is just purely competing. I think you like, especially in like front of the home crowd, I feel like you'll be on a sort of high for it, if you will. And you know, just practicing handoffs with, your teammates and things like that. Coach Henry loves practicing the handoffs. Uh, but yeah, really just preparing for the 8, and then when the 4x4 comes along, just tackle that, when it gets there.
There you go. All right, Devon Allen has returned. We're talking SECs, Dev. We're talking
I'm back.
SECs.
Yeah, no, I was watching the show. So you're running the 800 and the 4x4. That'll be something good to watch.
There you go.
I'm excited for that.
Thank you.
Quanera, provide some tips for that 400 leg, something that his coach just never even thought to tell him, but you being an Olympian know better than almost anybody.
Well, I mean, the 400 is different than with the 4x4 because everybody, when they're running the 4x4, they just like that adrenaline that's going through you. So, like, literally all tips, tricks, everything just goes out the window, and it's just like, I gotta go. So, like, everybody gets a different energy when it comes to the 4x4. So, it's just like your coach can tell you to run a certain way in open 4, but when that 4x4 hits, like, all bets are off. All bets are off, and it's just like it's go time.
That's so true.
I
That's
think
so
that
true.
like in the 4x4, I feel like a lot of the times you'll see somebody like say their open time in the 400 is a 47, and then they go out and split a 44. You like, where did that come from? So yeah, definitely think all bets are off.
That's me. That's textbook me. My PB in the 400 is 48-44, and I split 45 and 46 legs in college when I was on the 4x4 at Oregon. So, it's textbook to just run way faster when you're in a 4x4 relay.
Yeah.
So with Erin, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get her to return because of some connection issues there. But Tim is joining us right now. Tim Goebel, 2002 bronze medalist, figure skater, and Tim, you have the world's biggest figure skating fan right above me here on the screen in Quanera Hayes. Real quick, why don't you just tell us who are you and what do you do, or what did you do? Just tell us your life story in like 60 seconds. How about that?
Sounds great. So so I was a competitive figure skater for basically my whole life. I started when I was like 5 years old and made the Olympics when I was 21 in Salt Lake City, which was awesome, and earned a bronze medal. And that was definitely my my career highlight for sure. Being on home ice, having like my family and a lot of my coaches there. That normally wouldn't get to go to a games. Like Devon, like you get it. Like you can't bring your whole deal when you're going overseas to compete. And so having that kind of home field advantage was really pretty awesome.
It's huge. Yeah, it's super nice too. Like you can go to dinner and breakfast with your family, like before competitions and after stuff, and it makes it feel much more normal. Obviously you're focused on your competition, but having your family there is really nice.
Yeah, it's great. It was great.
So how does one get into figure skating? You said you started at 5. Was that like the first thing that you did? Was there any sort of like it seems to me like dancing would be a natural progression, like as a first step to get into figure skating, but perhaps not. Again, I am not good on skates of any sort. So I'm just kind of curious how one really makes that decision at such a young age to get into it.
Yeah, so I was a really hyper kid, and my parents put me in a lot of sports to kind of like wear me out by the end of the day. And so I played like soccer and baseball and gymnastics and skating. And skating is just something that kind of clicked. Like I was just naturally good at it right away. And because I had that sort of natural ability, I progressed through really fast. And I was like learning to do jumps at like a much more rapid pace than most of the people my age. And so early on, I started competing when I was like 7 or 8, I think. And early on had a lot of success. And then it kind of like, I had the ability, I was having success. I was enjoying it a lot. I have no hand-eye coordination whatsoever, none. So like ball sports were never going to be a thing. Like I was like, when I played baseball, anytime I went up to bat, it was like the scariest 5 minutes of my life, because I'm like, I know I'm not going to hit it. I might get hit by the ball, and like, this is terrible. And so that wasn't really my jam. But yeah, so I got really competitive at about 8 or 9. And then my mom and I moved away from home when I was 10 to train at a different training center. And kind of from that point on, it became kind of apparent that like the Olympics was a possibility for me at some point. And just kind of from that point on, I made my first nationals when I was 10.
10.
Which was like really awesome and cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I started going to international events when I was 13. And it was just kind of like a slow and steady progression from there. And then after high school, I took a brief stint into college for about 3 weeks, and then realized that like I was going to be at international competitions for like 6 weeks out of a semester, and I was like, oh, I'm going to miss midterms. Oh, I'm going to miss finals. Oh, like I'm going to miss 3/4 of my classes. And so I took a pause from going to university. And then during that time, I also transitioned and moved. I was training in Cleveland, Ohio at the time, moved to California to train with Frank Carroll, who's a legendary figure skating coach, and train alongside Michelle Kwan leading up into the 2002 Olympic Games.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was cool.
So how was
Wow.
the training? You training like not jumping, but going to different coaches? Like, how was the training process of that? And like, how did you have to prepare yourself mentally for the coaching style of that particular coach that you were with?
So it's part of it is chemistry. So like you kind of interview with a coach before you go to them. So you don't just like, show up with your skates and like, hey, I'm Tim, how are you? Like, let's go. So you kind of have like an interview process, because you're spending so much time with this person, and it's very much one-on-one. And you have to, not only do you have to trust them and respect them, but there has to be chemistry there, because you're spending a lot of time together. You're together 2, 3, 4 hours a day. And so when I was looking to move my training center from Cleveland and move on, I did kind of this interview. It's like speed dating, kind of. I mean, in like the more modern term, but you kind of have to figure out like, number one is like the physical environment conducive to my training and my progress, and number two, can I spend 3 hours a day with this person and not like lose my mind? And so it was Frank Carroll, and it was one other coach, and then the physical setup of the other location was not ideal for me, and so I ended up going with Frank, which obviously worked out really well. I had my Olympic experience. I won a couple world medals, so it ended up being a really good fit.
Okay.
Wow.
Great.
I'm surrounded by world-class athletes, not being one myself yet. But I'm kind of curious what actually goes into training in figure skating. All I know about figure skating training, I learned from The Cutting Edge.
Okay.
And it's obviously, and that was a while ago I saw that too, so I really don't remember too much. But I'm just really kind of curious what goes into training, because I've seen what these guys do in terms of running and lifting and all the nutrition. But from in your world, what does all that mean?
So it's very similar, I would guess, to a lot of other sports, especially a lot of other winter sports, where we do spend a lot of time on the ice, but it's about 50-50. So the cross training comprises about 50% of what a typical athlete's day is, and so you're on ice 2.5 to 3 hours a day, maybe a little bit more, but then you're supplementing it with everything from, like, I did ballet. I hated it. I'm not the most flexible person, but I did ballet. I did a ton of Pilates. I did a lot of Olympic style lifting, a ton of plyos, because we have to get that amplitude. Yeah, so it was a really kind of broad spectrum of things that we were doing. A lot of stretching, a lot of recovery type stuff. So like the foam roller, like rolling on the tennis balls or the lacrosse balls and stuff. When I was fully training, I was going to physical therapy at least twice a week. It's very, so figure skating in a way it has some similar challenges to short track speed skating. So short trackers only corner on one leg, and so you can actually see like the size of their quads is different at the end of the season because they're always cornering on that one leg. So kind of similar for us is we always land on the same leg and we only rotate in one direction. So figure skaters have all these weird like muscle imbalances because we kind of do everything one way. And so we have like the strong leg, like the landing leg is like the strong leg, and then the takeoff leg is like the more like nimble leg. And so we're like super imbalanced, and because of those muscle imbalances that are kind of forced by how we train, we have a lot of like back issues and hip issues that need to be kind of maintained all the time. So I went to like I would see a chiropractor or a physio and do like like rehab type stuff, like injury rehab type stuff, but as more of a preventative thing. So like those stupid TheraBands that are like, it's like a rubber band, but like, you know what I'm talking about. Like those are my worst nightmare, doing all the drills with the thing and like working your hips and your adductors and all that stuff. So it was like a very kind of cross-functional type training. Because you can only jump so much, because when you overdo the on ice jumping, which I did a lot of, because I was kind of one of the pioneers to do the quadruple revolution jumps. And so I got a lot of injuries. I had a lot of stress fractures. I had a lot of torque related injuries. So you're kind of like either injured or like in rehab mode all the time anyway. So like, yeah, I have like nightmares about those stupid TheraBands.
Wow.
Your training sounds really similar to mine. As a hurdler, I take off on one leg every time and I land on the same leg every time. Right. So, and obviously my goal is kind of like your goal in training is to kind of balance those out somehow. And I do spend a lot of time with my physical therapist, doing that, with the TheraBands. Like today I was doing TheraBand stuff with my physical therapist this morning. So it's funny that you say that.
I was always wondering though, so when you're hurdling, like like for figure skaters that are right side dominant, we rotate counterclockwise. Is there like a dominant lead leg for hurdlers, or do they like train you a specific way, or does it like if you go like right leg first versus left leg first, do they try to like change it? Because I know like in figure skating, if you spin naturally the other direction, and a lot of camps, they will try to make you rotate like the normal way, like the right side dominant way.
I wouldn't say they do a lot of trying to force you. I think naturally, whatever leg you jump off of, like your better jumping leg, so usually has to do with being like right-handed, right-footed, stuff like that. Is going to be the dominant leg that you're going to start hurdling with. I actually started hurdling with my other leg, and that was because my coach, he coached his son, and his son was a left lead leg, so he's like, "I'll just do it the same way he does it." And then I did it.
Okay.
I did it that way, and then I realized the other way felt better, so that I switched.
So you did it on your own. You just kind of figured out like, hey, this feels right.
Yes, exactly. And then, like you said,
cool.
When we have a little bit of, in figure skating, right, you speed up your rotation with your arms, and same thing with us as hurdlers. So we do have a little bit of that counterclockwise rotation. For me, as a right lead leg, and if you're left lead leg, you're clockwise. So, I guess to minimize that and to develop strength in both legs, like you said, with your physical therapist and doing all that training is super important, to staying healthy, like you said.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I never thought of that. But I guess you can't, like, would there be benefit to training both legs, or would that just totally like mess up your timing and stuff?
So I would say if you have enough time, there is benefit to just being efficient in both. Like I probably could run pretty fast with my other leg. But in the 400 hurdles, there's actually a benefit to being a left lead leg, because when you jump on the curve, when you take off, right, you only go straight. There's not like, it's not like you're running a curve. So if you push off with your right leg and you go into the curve with your left leg, you kind of cut the distance down as opposed to going
Ah,
left leg to right. So they try to teach 400 hurdlers how to do that. But
yeah.
the world record holder is a right lead leg. So he kind of like debunks that whole thing because he,
Huh.
so it's pretty interesting.
Hope I
Very
didn't
cool.
miss too much. Sorry about that.
We were just talking about Tim's training and kind of the stresses of the on ice training and then the off ice. That was kind of one of my questions. You answered it right. I wanted to know like what kind of ballet, like what dancing you did off the ice, right? You said ballet. Another question I have, and this is a little bit like left of field, was I was looking through some of your programs that you did really well and you won and some of your medals. How do you decide on a song?
So that's collaboration kind of between, so you have for most folks they have a main choreographer and then their coach, and then it's kind of, so they kind of figure out like what's going to be the best kind of vehicle for the athlete to like be able to highlight their strengths, hide any weaknesses, because like my style was not kind of the classical like ballet style that a lot of my Russian competitors use. So if they put me in some like Rachmaninoff piece or something, it just wouldn't really read. So it's kind of like enhancing what you do well, and then kind of hiding what maybe isn't the strongest thing that you have. And so it's kind of like, at least the way it works with my choreographer and my coach, they would kind of present some like concepts and ideas, and it would be like maybe 2 or 3 concepts for the short program and a handful for the long as well. And a lot of times we would kind of play with it on ice and be like kind of pacing it out and seeing what works. And so it's definitely a collaborative process, because you don't like what you think. Like if I were to pick a piece of music and go and bring it to my choreographer and start skating it, like what you think your body is going to look doing something and how it actually reads is like not always great.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's like not always great representation. So you definitely have to have someone that's like not just kind of looking at it from like what feels good, but like what's going to be the best vehicle for the athlete to really like highlight their best qualities.
And when now that you're retired from competitive skating, the songs that you did well at, are those like your favorite songs, and the songs that you didn't skate as well, like the ones you're like, oh, turn it off?
Yeah, no, it's weird because like when people like when I go and watch a skating event or whatever, either on TV or whatnot, when I hear someone skating to a piece that I did where I didn't have a good season, I'm always like, oh yeah, like, oh, I don't like that one. But yeah, you have like a very strong kind of visceral reaction to like both the really good and the really bad. So yeah, but yeah, it sticks with you for sure.
That's great. No, because I was looking at it, you had like Caravan in there and American Pie, some classics for sure. So I love it.
No, I could see that totally giving you like PTSD, like you're just driving down the highway and all of a sudden like, oh, I fell to that song. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, it was 4th at Worlds that year. Dang it.
Dang it.
I'll take 4th. It's really interesting that you mentioned that too, Devon, because it's like it's very unique to figure skating or to, I guess, gymnastics as well, as far as Olympic sports, that there is that choreography that has to happen, and like the musical components. It's like you don't have to deal with a musical component, Devon and Brent. I mean, maybe you're in your head you're singing along to something as you're, but it's like that's just a complete X factor. I didn't even think about that. So kudos to Devon for the world class question. Tim, did you ever step out on the ice though, like, and hear something you weren't expecting, or is it always like you already knew well before you stepped on the ice, like what the song was and you almost had it memorized?
Yeah, no, you always know. Like so generally the way the season, the timing of the season that worked when I was competing is we would start like the early internationals would start in August, September,
Hmm.
and the programs that we were going to compete were completed in like May or June. So we had done dozens or ideally hundreds of repetitions of those programs before you get to a major event. So like by the time you get to so for figure skating, nationals is kind of like the biggest determinant in whether or not you get on the Olympic team. So our nationals, it's not really Olympic trials because they do consider other events. But by the time we get to nationals, we've easily done those programs 100 times each, easily. And then by Olympics, like add another, month or 6 weeks of training to that. So you're adding probably 30 more. And so you like, so the year after Olympics, I got a new set of programs. They weren't really clicking, and I was super injured. And then I made the world team, and I actually switched back to my Olympic program like 3 weeks before. And because I had done it so many times this season prior, it clicked. Like it was like muscle memory was there. My mind just like snapped into it. And like in 3 weeks of training it, I did that program better than I had done the other program that I had trained for 8 months by like miles. Because
Wow.
it's just like it's programmed into your head and it's programmed into your muscle, and you just kind of like you go. It's like autopilot, and like that's, I mean, that's what you train for. Like the timing, like hearing the musical cues, like the even like the visual points of like where the judging panel is, where the TV pits are, like all that kind of stuff. You just kind of, it like clicks back in when you need it to, assuming you've done enough of those repetitions.
Wow. By the end of it, could you actually like do the routine without the music? Like just have the music in your head, or does it
So
not work?
that's a great question. So we would train like that sometimes because you don't know, like if your music shuts off, like if the sound system goes out in the arena or whatever, like it's the referee's discretion whether or not they stop and then you start from that point, or whether you have to keep going. So we would actually train the program without music because you still have to finish in the same amount of time, like plus or minus like 3 seconds. And for us, it was like a 4-minute 40 program. So you have to be able to, like, you have to be on. And so we would actually train like that. And you also have to get used to, like the coaches would even do stuff like turn the music off halfway through. So like, can you experience a disruption or like a big distraction and keep going and not lose your timing and not lose your composure? Or they would like sometimes they would like turn the lights off as you're going into a hard jump, and like to try and disorient you and stuff. But yeah, you have to prepare for that. Like you don't know, and like you're not going to not finish your Olympic program because the music goes out. Like you're going to be like you're going to do the jumps and you're going to finish on time, and you're
Yeah.
going to do it with a smile on your face. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong.
It's kind of I guess like Brandon, that would be equating like if you're training for SECs next week and you're running an 800 and all of a sudden you take a turn and there's a hurdle in front of you, like, oh, you can't stop. Devon put a hurdle in front of you. You got to do it. You just got to jump.
Right. Exactly.
Tim, it's super interesting too that you talked about being able to do it, pretty much muscle memory and almost like what I explained to people that ask me how it feels is like blacking out. You don't remember when you go out, when the gun goes off for me, and maybe when you're on the ice and the music starts, like it just becomes so automatic. You just don't even think about it anymore. Like you said, like we do so much training, and that's the goal. And I'm sure Brandon's the same way. And it's really impressive because we've been interviewing a lot of winter athletes and a lot of athletes in general, and that's pretty much the consensus is like, hey, we spend so much time doing this, and that's what training's for. It's literally like the easy part is the competition, right? And that just happens so freely and flowy, and it just a tribute to you and all the athletes that were on, and pretty much every elite athlete out there that spends so much time doing it, to be so efficient. And it's just very impressive in the sense that you can almost do something with your eyes closed. And I say that too. Like the hurdles are 3'3" for me, and I honestly feel confident I could run a race with my eyes closed because it's just I've done it so many times, thousands and thousands of times that it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so it's so it very much like being blacked out, but it's almost like you can hear your music when you're competing, but it's like mute, it's like muffled, like
Hmm.
it's not the same, like it's everything feels like muted. Like I remember little snippets of like visuals from when I was competing, but like you don't, it's not the same. Like, well, and when you're training there's other people on the ice, so you're like, oh, I got to watch out for that pair team, like, oh, I can't run Shell Quan over, like, oh, so you're like, you have to be a lot more you have to be a lot more like spatially aware. But when you're competing it's great because like you're not going to run into anybody, nobody's going to
Mhm.
like flatten you as you're going into a jump. You can just really be like in it, and your body knows what to do, or hopefully it does, and you kind of do tune out and go into like auto mode, and you just kind of, it just kind of happens, and then you're like, oh, it's done, cool.
Love it. Brandon, do you have a question? Because I don't want to take up all the spotlight.
Oh, just a quick question. Now I know you competed in the Olympics in 2002, as you said, and I'm kind of showing my age right now. I was born in 2000,
Oh
and
my gosh, wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Oh,
my question would be, how has, if it has at all, how has figure skating evolved over the years? Competed and retired in 2006, I believe, until now.
So it's changed a lot. So our sport is very there's always a lot of drama, and during my Olympics there was a particular drama in that there was some collusion with some of the judging panels, and essentially what happened is the French dance team was basically guaranteed a gold medal if the group of judges on the pair team would protect the Russians. And so it was a big international scandal. It was news and noteworthy for a very long time. And as a result of that, they actually changed our entire judging system to what we now refer to as the code of points. So they went from a scoring system that was similar to the old 10-point system in gymnastics. And then gymnastics, like because of a judging scandal about, I think, 8 years before ours, changed to like a point system where everything had like a cumulative value to make it somewhat more objective. The argument is still whether or not that actually worked. For gymnastics, still the argument is open to debate whether it worked in figure skating, but it's changed entirely. So in my generation, it was very unusual for men's singles to do more than 2 different types of quads. Nathan Chen this year did 5 different types of quads. I think a number of the other competitors did as well. None of the women in my generation were doing quads. They weren't even, a few were trying them in practice and they were kind of surviving them, but never consistently enough to do in a competition. And now there are probably a dozen female athletes that are doing quads on a regular basis. So one of the Russian girls who competed in the team event and medaled in the team event did as many quads in this Olympics as I did in my Olympics, and I think it was a record for her. And then in my Olympics, it was a record for me. So in 20 years, it's completely changed. The technical on all fronts has gotten so much more difficult. The lifts that the pairs are doing are like crazy hard. And many of them would have been illegal in my generation because of how the women were being held, and because of the level of danger. So it's almost a different sport.
yeah.
And even for those of us that kind of competed through the change in the judging system, like it was very difficult for us to adapt because it was just a very different way of structuring a program and pacing and training. And it was weird because we're like, we've done this all our lives and we should know how to do this. And then they completely changed the world order and we were like, oh crap, this is really hard. And then at that point, most of us were from my generation, were like getting injured and getting too old to compete. And then we all went off to college.
Yeah. He's like, I remember when the triple toe loop was considered difficult, and now
Yes.
It's like now there's 5-year-olds who are doing it. What the hell's going on?
It's
Yeah,
wild.
I actually I never even put two and two together though. That's what got rid of the old 6-point system. That was the 6-point system you were talking about before, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was a 6.0 system through they had put in place the system for the 2003 season, but for the big events they used the old 6.0 system, and then in 2004 they completely switched over. And yeah, it was weird because it's like your whole the whole way a program was engineered had to completely change, because all of the things that we used to kind of consider like throwaway elements, or like a little space to breathe, or kind of like zone out, those actually earned you points, and you're like, oh well, I can't just kind of like, blow through it, breeze through
Yeah.
this one thing, because that's 3 points. I got to make it really great.
Yeah. And you, if I'm not mistaken, you were in the late 90s, early 2000s, somewhat of a pioneer, if you will, in some of those more difficult jumps, right? Like the first was it a triple toe loop, or no, it was quadruple sal chow? I forget. It was one of
Yes, I was the first person to do so. In figure skating, there's 6 jump takeoffs. There's the axel, which is the only forward taking one, and then the other 5 are either toe assisted or edge assisted, but you go backwards. So people had landed quads in competition before me, but I did a different takeoff. So I was the first person in the world to do a quadruple sow cow. And then I was also, a few years later, the first person in the world to do 2 different quad takeoffs in the same program, which was like, people were like, oh, you're crazy. You're not actually going to try that, right? I'm like, I'm not only going to try it, but I'm going to do it. And so I did, which was cool. And I had gotten about 70% of the way on another quad. Like, I could land a 3rd takeoff in practice, but my consistency was not good enough to put in competition. And then so between my retirement and 2010 Olympics, no one had done more. And then with skating, everything kind of goes in plateaus. And so like, I had kind of set a new plateau, and me and my peer group kind of stayed there for a while. And then I retired and went to school. And then in 2014, one of the Japanese athletes did like 4 different quad takeoffs, and we were like, this is insane. And so that was kind of the next revolution. But it's like, it kind of goes in plateaus. And so I think like now we're kind of there. Like, I don't see, because basically for men at this point, like for Nathan Chen and his peers, the next logical step would be a 5 revolution jump. And I just don't really see, unless there's changes to the equipment that we're using, I don't see, like, you're landing with so much torque. I don't really see that being possible. Like, people might be able to land them, but to do enough that you're consistent enough to do in competition, it's like 5,000 correct repetitions to like replicate it under pressure. I think you would just be too injured. But who knows? I mean, if anyone can do it, Nathan Chen can do it. So
anything's possible. Someone's going to run a sub 9 100 one day. I won't be alive to see it, but it might happen. I don't know. You bring up the injury perspective, though. The injuries in practice, and that's actually something I've always thought about. Like, okay, if and you said it's 5,000 to 1, give or take.
Yeah,
that's a lot of butt bruises and landing on your hips and everything. How do you feel waking up every day? Like, do you still hurt?
So it's there's like good falls and there's bad falls, and it's kind of hard to explain without demonstrating. But if you see someone if you see someone fall and they kind of fall on the side of their landing leg and they slide, that's like not a bad fall. Like, those don't really hurt. If you see somebody fall and they're like on their side, or like they're like the side of their body is making contact with the ice, or they fall forward and they're like sliding on their face, like that's a bad fall, and those really hurt. But you learn how to fall. Like, your body kind of, you gain a sense of like how to fall safely for the most part. And a lot of it is technique. So like, if you're falling a certain way,
Mm.
that like your takeoff is wrong. So then you go back and like, if you're working on a triple and you're falling a bunch and like you're falling poorly, then you go back and you work on the double and you kind of try to like clean up the technique so that even if you fall on the jump, you're falling in a way that's safe. So it's, yeah, you kind of like learn how to fall, or at least try to learn how to fall safely. But yeah, you wake up with bruises and, bumps and bruises and stuff. I had a few broken ribs along the way.
Naturally.
Naturally.
Yeah, Devon, you wake up with some banged up calves every now and again.
Yeah, here and there.
Yeah,
Mostly I just hit the hurdles, and I could just be like a knee bruise, but I've got calluses now, so I'm good.
So curious if there's any advice that you can provide, Tim, to these two athletes who we have: Brandon, whose career is just getting started; Devon, who's pretty much you're at your prime, maybe you would say. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
give or take. Like you're like 2 years from peaking, is what I'm thinking personally. But I'm just curious, what kind of advice can you offer to these young gentlemen?
Oh my gosh. Just take care of your body. Like do the recovery work that you need to do. Fighting through the injuries for like for world championships or something like that. Like, yeah, by all means, like suck it up and power through. But for the smaller stuff, like if your body's telling you like it's time to take a break, like focus on the things that will define your career, not on the things that you're being pushed to do. Like, listen to your body, do the recovery work, and focus on the things that are important to you and your confidant team as an athlete, and all the other stuff doesn't matter.
That's great advice. Yeah, that's something that took me actually from 21 to 25 to learn.
Takes it because you, as an athlete, you want to please your coaches, you want to please your federation, you want to do all of that stuff, and you want to do the right thing as an athlete. But sometimes the best thing you can do for you and your team is to sit out a meet, or to take the time that you need to heal or get stronger. So listen to your body. Like, you are where you are for a reason, and just trust your instincts on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's great. Sorry, Brandon, go ahead.
I just said
Awesome. Any but before we get out of here, Devon, Brandon, you guys got any more questions for Tim? Any more insights?
You know what I did? So we were talking, you guys, you mentioned the quadruple. How much practice do you guys do off ice? Obviously, you said you did ballet, but do you do a lot of like, I always imagine maybe like some trampoline work just to practice the like rotations, right? Like,
yes,
you got to just be able to do that first before you can even work on the landing.
So
you've done a 5 rotation jump before, right? But not on the ice.
Not on the ice, yeah. There is a bunch of trampoline work that's done. There's a new training technique where there's like a disc that you spin on, and there's a harness, and the coach like holds you up, and you learn. It's how athletes now are training to rotate more efficiently. But yeah, there's trampoline work that's done. There's there's basically, it looks like a fishing pole, but for when you're on ice. So when you're learning a new jump, and there's a coach that kind of like helps hold you up so that you're not like taking those really nasty crash falls. But trampoline is really helpful. Like, the harness work that people are doing off ice is kind of a new evolution to that. But yeah, all that stuff, because you need 2 things to successfully complete a jump. You need enough airtime, and that comes from your technique. And you need to be able to rotate correctly. And so the trampoline is like super critical for that. Because you can make those really fine-tuned adjustments of like, oh, your arm is here, but it needs to be here. Your one foot is crossed too high, the other, so that stuff is like really, really important and really impactful.
Yeah, awesome. No, I figured that.
I got one more question, more of a fun question than anything else. Have you ever gone to like, I don't know, like the rink at Rockefeller Center or someplace like that, and just kind of bust out a little bit of your program and just kind of?
No, I definitely, like, I've gone to Rockefeller Center and stuff, and Woolman, which is the rink in Central Park. But I definitely don't like Skating is not like riding a bike. Like I can't, like I couldn't go out and do a triple jump like
Oh, okay.
to save my life, like at this point in my life. But yeah, no. So I keep it like I kind of try to keep a low profile. Because what I don't want is I don't want people to ask me to do stuff because I can't do it. Like I'm
Do it.
old.
Well,
My
what
body's
can
falling
you,
apart.
what can you still do? You could probably spin really fast with the thing when you put your hands on and then you give
Yeah, so like
the tornado, I like to call it.
with my feet on the ice, I can still kind of do some tricks, but like jump wise, like no, not a chance. No way.
You can hop a little bit, maybe.
Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe
All right.
on a good day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, we really appreciate your time coming on this show. Sorry about the earlier technical difficulty. That was more of a hard fall, if you know what I mean.
That was a hard fall. Yeah.
Brandon had some technical difficulties earlier in the run of this show. That was a soft fall because he made it. He's back.
I'm back.
And we're going. But yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us. It's been real fun. Hope to do it again. Maybe we'll do a little bit training and go and do one of those little prank videos in Rockefeller Center next year. A double. Just give me a
That
double.
would be awesome.
Just
That
give
would
me
be
a
so
double.
much fun.
All
For
right,
sure.
that's all we need.
I'll start training.
Or you could teach me how to do a double, or just teach me how to
Yeah,
ice skate.
for sure.
You gotta get on
That'd
the
be a lot of
trampoline
fun.
first, Devon. You gotta get on the
That'd be great.
trampoline first for sure. Have you? Little digression. Have you guys watched Olympic trampoline?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's
my
so
God.
cool.
It's insane.
Brandon, you haven't seen that?
Have not.
It's like
Oh, you're
gymnastics on
tripping.
steroids. They just
YouTube
fly through the air. It's
now.
crazy.
Oh, it's
so great.
possibly one of the most entertaining of all the Olympic sports. No offense intended to anybody else in the room, but
It
my
looks like
goodness,
so much fun too, though, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
because you're kind of like, oh, maybe I could do it. And then you're like, oh, well, I have to land on the X. So, like, that's out. But it's so much fun to watch.
yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
what like we did when we were a kid. We literally just try to jump as high as we could,
Yeah.
and then you start
Yeah.
getting comfortable with that, and then you start doing flips.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, it's so much fun. Yeah, totally. YouTube it for sure.
It's one of the few summer sports that I would maybe equate to you needing as much craziness as a winter athlete, because the ski jumpers, you got to have a screw loose to be doing that. Even what you're doing is very dangerous and probably very terrifying for a lot of people. But yeah, I think trampoline maybe is kind of one of those the scariest things you could do in the
Oh,
summer games. I don't know.
one last question before we go, and this is just like a fun one. What do you think
Yeah.
about the Iron Lotus?
What is the Iron Lotus?
Have you seen Blades of Glory?
Oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes.
It's like the
yes,
famous move they do.
Yeah.
Too
There are
dangerous.
teams that have tried to do like in a exhibition setting. There are teams that have tried to do some crazy stuff like not that crazy, but yeah, people try to do really difficult acrobatic things because if you're the first one to do something in competition, you get a huge bonus for it, and
Yeah.
then you can potentially name the element after you.
Yeah.
Kind of like Simone Biles has the Biles. So yeah, so people take calculated risk, but yeah, that kind of thing is like we joke about it, but people are definitely trying to do something
sure.
kind of along
Similar.
that line. Yeah.
All right, great. So the show is called "What Were You Thinking?" We always end these conversations with us asking, "What were you thinking?" And for yours, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just kind of curious, what were you thinking the second that? And in your sport, it's different because you sometimes have to wait and see scores come through. What were you thinking the second that you saw whatever that last score come in and knew that you had a bronze and you did it on home ice and you had family in the crowd? What were you thinking at that exact moment where you realized that you were an Olympic medalist?
Oh, relief. I mean, that was my goal from the time I started skating. So I was like, oh, it happened. I get to check the box. Like I did it. I did the thing that I've spent my whole life working for. So like, obviously I was super happy, but it was like relief because, as you're waiting for those scores to come up, and I was fourth going in. So, and it was a really strong event, and I'm like, oh, I could have been third, I could have been fourth, I could have been fifth. Like, you don't know where, you don't watch your competitor, or at least I didn't. So, like, I knew what the scores were, I knew what the ranges were. So I'm like, I knew everyone did well. So yeah, like total sigh of relief. I'm like, my work is done. I can go chill for a little bit.
So I'm going to parlay this into a two-part question then, because you just mentioned it. So now I have to ask, what were you thinking when you were trying to sleep the night before, sitting in fourth place, that close to podium position?
Mhm. So for me, that position didn't worry me too much because with figure skating, the first round is for the singles events is the short program, and you can't win with the short, but you can definitely lose with the short. And so I had done a good short program. It was clean, like I did all the elements I was supposed to do. So I was fine, but like the long program was definitely my stronger program. And I knew that I was ready to do like a really, really strong one. So going in, I felt I like cautiously optimistic. Like I knew if I had a strong performance that I could be on the podium. So it was I was just focused on like go out there, do my job, check off my 8 jump elements and call it a day.
Okay, there you
Love
go.
it.
Is that kind of like track guys for Devon and Brandon? Like you can't lose a race at this, or you can't win a race at the start, but you can lose it at the start. Does that translate to you guys?
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like for the 800 and the 110 hurdles, though.
Yeah, for my event for sure.
Yeah. All right, great.
Catch up and stuff. So
Say that again.
you got a little bit of time in the 800, rather than the 110s.
I don't know. We've seen Devon close a couple of gaps in the second half of the race. He's shrugging it off, but no, we've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen it. It's gonna happen. All right, great. This was awesome, Tim. Thank you so much for joining us. We have to do it again. We have to keep in touch.
Awesome.
And,
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was
thank you,
so much
Tim.
fun.
the grand finale for our Winter Olympics run of this show. Here we go. Thank you so much, man. Well, that was fun. That was a great little conversation.
That was great.
Like figure skating is just one of those sports that I know very little about, and it's just again, it shouldn't surprise me at this point in time how complex every single Olympic sport can be. But he definitely did a great job at articulating.
Well, you know the thing he downplayed a lot was like the plyometric ability to just be able to jump high enough to do four spins.
Right?
Like so those guys are jumping out the gym, as we would say.
Yeah. Could you even do that from a standing jump on a?
I don't know. I haven't like I probably could do one full turn for sure, maybe 2 if I really like get a running start into it. But yeah, 3 and 4 like. And I've seen, you watch figure skating on TV, like you see how high they jump. Like it's no joke.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that he was mentioning with the torque upon landing, and he was saying as he's doing it with a quad or a triple jump. But I'm thinking even like in doubles when you'll throw somebody up in the air and
torpedo them.
That's the motion.
Yeah.
And they rotate and they'll do this tornado in the air and then they land on the ice and just like, I did it.
Hey,
and I'm just like, my ankle snaps right there. First time.
Hey, you have to have strong ankles for one, but also strong like glute strength to be able to hold those hips in line so your knees don't buckle.
So yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, guys, this was fun. Again, a very special thanks to the both of you for co-hosting this series. We're gonna keep it going, so I hope you're gonna come back to do some podcasts. What were you thinking? It's gonna take the athletics world by storm, I think, this year.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, for everyone who's watching, if you miss these 3 faces you're seeing on the screen right now, go buy an NFT. If you haven't bought an NFT yet, what are you thinking? We have 3 different levels that you can go to fanaply.com/world's greatest. The bronze one is free. And it's a great partner that we've partnered with. They without getting too technical, it's eco-friendly NFTs, because normal NFTs and blockchain stuff, that's all typically very bad for the environment. Uses a lot of energy, as one can imagine. So go with our eco-friendly ones. They're going to be worth like $1 million. I mean, that's not a promise. You can't take me to court over that statement, but there's no risk. Get a free NFT. Brandon, do you have your
Release.
NFT yet? You got to get your NFT.
I do have my NFT.
There you go. What number is it?
I got the bronze one, so
There you go. Okay, there you go. Yeah, Devon looks really serious. I've just been looking at his very serious face as well.
You know what? I was actually just clicking on and getting my NFT now because I haven't got mine yet.
There you go. So Devon, if you buy the bronze one, you can get a training session with Devon Allen.
With myself.
It'll just be like Mario Kart with like the ghost race.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'll be honest, like I would love to race myself. That's a joke. Sorry.
No.
Not very
Well,
funny.
you see the wheels in motion in my head. Like, how can we make that work for some sort of a charity event? There's a million things
There's
we
a
could do here.
million possibilities.
Absolutely. But yeah, this was awesome. Before you guys jump, starting with Brandon. Well, first, is there anything else about the SECs we didn't talk about? Because I want to talk about the SECs. You got it's huge. It's a huge meet coming up. Did we miss anything? Did we get it all out?
I think we got it all out.
Okay.
Friday, Saturday, and that's about it. I'm excited.
There you go. All right, where can folks find you on social media?
You can follow my Instagram at bmillertrackstar. You can, subscribe to my YouTube. It's Brandon Miller, and my Twitter at bmillertrackstar.
There you go. And if someone buys a gold NFT tonight, Brandon will autograph and send you one of those heart-shaped balloons.
Oh, there you go. Yep, right.
All right, Devon, where can folks find you?
You can find me at Devon Allen 13 on Instagram and Twitter. And that's about it. Quickly, I want to say quick thanks to Erin Jackson for being on the show. Although, the technical difficulty stuff, but we really appreciate her taking the time to chat with us. And hopefully, one of these times we do another show, a few months down the road, we can get her and get the whole life story.
Absolutely. And you can follow World's Greatest on Twitter at World's Greatest, except remove the vowels, WRLDSGRTST. Also at World's Greatest Team on Instagram and youtube.com/World's Greatest is where all of our premium content is there. Some great stuff with Devon. There will be at some point some great stuff with Brandon. There you go. I just signed the contract right there. We're doing videos. Yeah, just keep following us. Amazing content with the world's greatest athletes. Last thought I just want to get from both of you. Tell me, what does it take to be the greatest?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, tell me, what does it take to be the greatest?
I think you have to mix faith with works. I think either of those alone is not enough. I think when you put them both together, and when you're on your grind and you're in your faith, I feel like that is what makes you the greatest.
Love that. Devon, what about you from your perspective? What does it take to be the greatest?
My perspective as a developing tenured athlete now is discipline. Because, every day is important, the very, very, very small, increases every day is what's going to make the big picture look how you want it to look, whether that be, Olympic gold or whatever your goals are. So discipline to kind of improving every day is super important to be the greatest.
There you go. Awesome. I don't have an answer, nor am I in the position to give you one. So we're going to call it a show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you next time on What Were You Thinking?
Peace.